The word slut has been around even before the 17th century, and nowadays the word slut is being used to define a person for their sexual encounters, and is also used as a form of bullying. Many people get slut-shamed within a span of a day, and in some cases, weeks or months. With this comes the process of overcoming the situation and how one would cope with it. Studies show that after being a victim of slut-shaming, many people resort to self-bullying, eating disorders, and even suicide. There has been various cases where the victims have developed depression, body image issues, and anxiety. In the novel, The Scarlet Letter, Hester Prynne, one of the main characters, was a victim of slut-shaming. She was victimized for committing a sin of adultery and was punished by the community she had been a part of. She had been sentenced to wear the scarlet letter A along with 7 years of jail time. And with the 7 years of jail time, she was sentenced to stand on the scaffold in front of her whole community. With everything that had been committed, she had been an outcast. She had thought that fleeing Boston would be the best choice, but then decided to stay and deal with the consequences she deserved. Here, she said to herself, had been the scene of her guilt, and here should be the scene of her earthly punishment. And so, perchance, the torture of her daily shame would at length purge her soul and work out another purity than that which she lost. Most saint-like because of the result of martyrdom. Many women can be victimized for their appearance or sexual encounters, but on the other hand, many girls have been slut-shamed for no valid reason at all. Many girls feel as if they have no control over the situation, and along with that, it has a negative effect on them. But eventually, overall, they will get used to the matter and just ignore it. With this being said, we have interviewed some girls to get their view on the situation. Have you ever been a victim of slut-shaming, and if so, how was your experience?
Yes, I have been a victim of slut shaming. I was kind of caught off guard because I never thought of myself as a slut, and I didn't really have an idea of what a slut was because I don't slut shame, and I think sexuality should be open and it should not be shamed, because for men it's usually the opposite and they are praised for it, and I think women should also be praised for sexuality as well.
How did you cope with being called a slut?
I coped by not taking it too seriously and kind of owning it instead of being afraid of it, because the only reason being called a slut is so bad is because the negative connotation that it's linked to with a woman's sexuality and how it should be oppressed. Yet I don't believe that's a thing, and that I think everyone should be very sex positive, especially how in America sex is kind of like a taboo thing. So I coped with it by owning up to it and kind of making it something else than what it actually was.
Many boys believe that they themselves get praised and rewarded for being sexually active, and that women get the other end of the stick and get harassed and bullied for the same interactions. They believe that they should be treated equally, and if one gets bullied and harassed for the same actions, they both should. Boys think that overall slut-shaming is a very bad thing, and it shouldn't be happening in our society today. Here is some support from the novel, but still, methinks it must needs be better for the sufferer to be free to show his pain, as this poor woman Hester is, than to cover it all up in his heart. Your general idea of slut-shaming?
Well, the definition of slut-shaming is judging a girl based on her sexual activity, and my take on this is that it's actually really wrong. I believe that women shouldn't really be judged over their sexual activity due to the fact that men aren't judged. They're in society today. People often call girls names because they've been with a certain amount of guys, but no one ever judges men for being with a lot of girls. Typically men call each other players or ballers because they've been with a lot of girls, but when it's the opposite way around, girls are called bad names, which dehumanizes them in a way.
Many adults believe that women aren't the only ones being slut-shamed, but that men are as well. Many adults believe slut-shaming is a difficult topic to address, and with this topic comes a new way of addressing the situation each time. The adults say that it is never the victim's fault for being slut-shamed, but the fault of the one doing it. They believe that there is no way of stopping this process and the word will only gain power in the future. But they also believe that they have a hand in helping out in situations. Here is a quote supporting these facts, and following that will be some interviews with some adults. Have you ever gotten kids come to you for being slut-shamed?
Yes, I have.
How would you handle a situation of slut shaming if a kid had came to you first?
It's really tough because, as I was alluding to before, part of it is it's not really my business what their sexual activities are, right? So I don't really want to get into that but what comes out of these conversations pretty quickly is whether or not, if they're being ridiculed for something that is true or if something that is just a lie. That happens often, and that makes a difference in what happens next. If what's going on is a lie, then you go one way. If something that happened was true, then you have to go a different way. Because
she could, for example,
on the one,
that girl, she could prevent it from happening.
Is there a way for a girl to prevent slut shaming from happening? The short answer to that is no, because it's not her, right? Other people are talking crap about her. She can't control what other people are going to do. I suppose there's an easy answer.
In 2003, people were given a survey to see how many people were victimized or slut-shamed. And from the survey, they got that 55% of women and 35% of men were victims of this problem. These people also stated that the more partners or hookups they had, the more respect they lost. Many people believe that only girls could be slut-shamed, but that's not necessarily true. Men can as well. Slut-shaming doesn't just happen in person, but it also happens online, making this whole situation even more difficult. With that being said, many adults find it difficult to assist on these situations due to how difficult and uncomfortable it could be. The word slut doesn't just label someone for how sexually active they are, but it also is a form of bullying. And with these situations happening, you have to find a way to cope with it. Some find it best to reach out to friends rather than adults, and some find it best to reach out to adults rather than friends. But overall, having someone by your side, helping you, supporting you throughout this whole situation seems like one of the best ways to cope with being slut-shamed.